been asked to join the next company west, which means we leave within the week. It's it, isn't it? But that's how it always is. And there's still plenty that happened before we had to leave. Now, I told you last time about the first letter that Susanna received with the key that had the holes punched out of it to see the message. What followed was the hardest piece of code work that I have ever done. So I'm missing my hat. There we go. As I said, what followed was the hardest piece of code work I have ever done. I took that same key, and before I gave her the key or the first letter, I put down a second piece of paper and wrote out the next message using the same key, just on a different sheet of paper. So I wrote the first half of the message, and I turned the paper around, flipped it upside down, and wrote out the second half of the message. So I pulled away with a mess of letters, so that she'd have to use the same key twice on a second letter. And from there I had to fill in the message. And the first half of the message was just utter nonsense. The last half was actually a letter explaining that things were getting more dangerous and we had to take even firmer precautions than we've been taking before. Thus, the complexity of the letter. And all of this while using the code work that threaded through the entire adventure. And as of yet, I don't think Susanna knows about that. Let's see what happens. Anyway, I gave her, or as Henry, I gave her this second letter and gave her a few days to figure it out. In the meantime, I talked to her about how things were going, that we needed to be helping Lorelei, and within a few days I asked if she had figured anything else out using what we'd given her. And she said, yes, I solved the puzzle, but there's a word missing. And that made me stop and think, wait. And she didn't know who the culprit was. And so I realized she hadn't solved the first or the third puzzle, she'd solved the second. Or like the three uses of the keys. And so she still didn't know who it was, just part of why they were against us. And the part she had solved said he's bitter about his The full message was supposed to say the culprit is William. He's bitter about his mission. Within another day, we were running out of time by this point. And so I said, all right, we've got to just move on. And I told her that as Henry had done some searching and we figured out that William was the culprit. At this point, Henry could handle things with William, but Susanna had to be the one to square things away with Lorelei. And so I told her that we would meet with Lorelei together and help her out. And time dwindled. Things happened and everything got truncated into one last show, which was earlier today. Again, better than before, came on as usual. And I came out with an 1830s Book of Mormon in my hand. I said, Susanna, we've got to talk to Lorelei now. And we were in the sisters' changing area, and so there were sisters all around, and they knew exactly what was happening. And so all of the attention suddenly came on the two of us as we came up to Lorelei, who was busy doing something but set it down, as we came to say, Lorelei, look, we know you're working with William. You've got to do away with all of this. As we were talking to her, though, William came from the back of the crowd. And he said, hey, Susanna, what is going on? And he realized that he'd been found out. And started to get angry and defensive. And I tried to calm him down, but it took Mayor John and Captain Jones coming from out of the shadows to pull him away. And at this point, everyone was kind of freaking out a little bit, and I knew that the two sisters needed to get home safely, and so I pulled Peter out from the side and I said, "Peter, I need you to get these girls home safely." And he nodded and took them and led them away, and I told the crowd everything would be fine, and went my way. It all happened so quickly. But it's all been found out. Lorelei was given the Book of Mormon, and we told her it takes the small things. Keep on what she knows right. With that, with her sister by her side, I think she'll be all right. As for William, there's still work to be done, but I'll get on that. That brings us to the end. The adventures